The Choctaw Spirit, Unbroken Through Time. Did you know the Choctaw Nation is one of the largest native tribes, with roots tracing back to sacred Naniwea Mound in Mississippi? The Choctaw Nation ranks third among all Native American tribes, with 80,000 members in Oklahoma, 30,000 in California, and significant populations in Texas and other states. Their influence on American history runs deep, from early colonial times through the Trail of Tears, the Civil War, and into the modern era. Welcome to Native Legends and History Stories. Subscribe now to learn how their legacy continues to thrive across America. The Choctaw Origins. Let's explore how the Choctaw people came to call this land home. Their origin combines two compelling narratives, the migration story and the creation story, both preserved through generations of oral tradition, and now supported by archaeological evidence. The migration story begins far to the northwest, where a large group of people faced a crucial decision to leave their homeland. Two brothers, Choctaw and Chickasaw, stepped forward to lead this monumental journey. With them was a spiritual leader called the Hopi, who carried the Itifabasa, a sacred staff that would guide their path. Each evening, the Hopi would plant this staff firmly in the ground. By morning, the direction it leaned would determine their next move. For months, possibly years, the staff consistently pointed southeast. Some stories say the journey took 4 months. Others claim 40 years. The groups stretched for miles, with Choctaw leading one contingent and Chickasaw another. During a powerful storm, fog, or fire, accounts vary, the brothers became separated. When Choktaw's group awakened the next day, they found the sacred staff standing perfectly straight, the divine sign they had reached their destined homeland. At this spot, they built Naniwea Mound in reverence to the Creator. A mile from the mound lies Naniwea Cave, central to the Choctaw creation story. Here, the Creator reached into the earth and formed people from clay, opening a massive cave entrance in the hillside. 4 distinct groups emerged: the Muskogee Creek, who traveled far east; the Cherokee, who moved northeast; the Chickasaw, who went north; and finally, the Choctaw, who remained near their birthplace. The people's clay-formed skin dried in the sun, giving them their complexion. The Creator told the Choctaw, who emerged last, that this was their sacred land. As long as they stayed here, they would prosper. Both Naniwea Mound and Cave remain under Choctaw ownership today, maintained by the Mississippi Band of Choctaw Indians. The Black Belt Prairie, a unique grassland region in the southeastern United States, connects Choctaw oral traditions with prehistoric history. According to Choctaw stories, this prairie was once a dense forest filled with massive creatures. These beasts, described as larger than buffalo or bears, roamed the area, stripping trees of bark and leaves, breaking branches, and even toppling entire trees. Over time, their relentless activity killed the forests, leaving behind the open prairie we see today. This account was documented by Hernando de Soto's Spanish explorers in the 1500s, who recorded tales of these colossal animals from Choctaw oral traditions. While the Spaniards likely dismissed the story as folklore, modern science confirms its accuracy. Researchers now identify the beasts in Choctaw accounts as American mastodons, giant prehistoric relatives of elephants. Fossil evidence shows that mastodons inhabited the region around 12,000 years ago, aligning perfectly with Choctaw oral history. Archaeological discoveries further support this timeline. The Choctaw developed sophisticated hunting tools, like the Nanashpilatl, one of the first complex weapon systems ever invented. This spear-throwing device could generate enough force to take down large game, including mastodons. Found across archaeological sites, these tools demonstrate the Choctaws' advanced engineering capabilities. Today, Naniwea Mound stands as a testament to Choctaw resilience. Annual gatherings here connect modern Choctaw people with their ancestors' legacy. Archaeological work continues to uncover new evidence of early Choctaw life, while oral traditions maintain the spiritual and cultural significance of this sacred place. This foundation, combining sophisticated social structure, agricultural expertise, and deep environmental understanding, would prove crucial as the Choctaw faced unprecedented challenges. Their story continues with the arrival of European explorers, marking the beginning of dramatic changes that would test their adaptability and resilience. Traditions of Choctaw life. The Choctaw Nation built a sophisticated and resilient society that thrived for thousands of years, balancing strong cultural traditions with practical innovations. Their social structure, grounded in matrilineal principles and carefully balanced leadership, created a stable foundation for their communities. This approach shaped every aspect of their daily life, from family relationships to governance, agriculture, and cultural practices. The matrilineal system was the foundation of Choctaw society, shaping its family structure, inheritance, social roles, and governance. This system placed women at the core of community life, granting them unparalleled influence and responsibility. It represented not only a practical organizational framework, but also a cultural philosophy that emphasized balance, stability, and the central role of women in sustaining the community. In the Choctaw matrilineal system, lineage was traced through the mother's clan. This meant that children inherited their clan identity, social status, and property rights from their mother, not their father. Belonging to the mother's clan was a lifelong connection, defining a person's role in society and their place in the broader community. This system ensured that wealth, land, and resources remained within the maternal line. Homes, farmland, and livestock were owned and managed by women. These assets were passed down to their daughters, maintaining continuity and stability within the clan. By prioritizing the maternal line, the Choctaw safeguarded their social structure from disruption and ensured that resources were preserved for future generations. Marriage in Choctaw society followed strict customs that aligned with their matrilineal principles. When a couple married, the husband moved into the wife's household or community. This arrangement, known as matrilineal residence, reinforced the importance of the maternal line and allowed women to remain in control of their familial and communal environment. The wife's family provided support to the couple, and the husband integrated into his wife's social network. In cases of separation or divorce, which carried no stigma in Choctaw culture, children always stayed with their mother and her clan. This practice ensured that the clan's continuity was never disrupted, and the mother's family maintained control over the upbringing and resources tied to the children. Fathers, while respected figures, held no direct authority over their offspring, reflecting the deeply rooted matrilineal traditions. Women were the primary custodians of agriculture, which was the backbone of the Choctaw economy. They cultivated essential crops such as corn, beans, squash, and sunflowers, managing every aspect of farming from planting to harvesting. This role was tied to their cultural identity as givers of life, a concept that celebrated their ability to sustain the community both biologically and economically. Beyond cultivation, women managed food distribution and storage, ensuring that resources were allocated equitably and efficiently. This gave them significant control over the community's food security and trade goods, as surplus crops were often exchanged with neighboring tribes or settlers. The economic power of women extended into decision-making processes, particularly those involving resource management and community welfare. The influence of women extended into the political realm through their advisory roles and control over economic resources. While men held formal leadership positions, such as Mingo's chiefs, women, particularly elder women, played a crucial role in guiding decisions. Their insights, grounded in their understanding of agriculture, family, and community dynamics, were highly valued in council discussions. Female elders were particularly influential in matters that affected the welfare of the tribe. Their wisdom and experience made them trusted advisors, especially in decisions related to land use, food distribution, and inter-clan relations. This partnership between male leaders and female advisors created a balanced governance structure that reflected the interconnectedness of Choctaw society. The matrilineal system contributed to the long-term stability and resilience of the Choctaw people. By centering inheritance and property rights around women, the system minimized disputes over land and resources. It also protected the community from external disruptions, as resources remained tied to the maternal clan regardless of changes in leadership or family structure. The Choctaws' political organization reflected their preference for merit-based leadership and consensus-driven governance. The nation was divided into 3 semi-autonomous districts, each led by a principal chief known as a Mingo. These leaders earned their positions based on proven administrative abilities, military experience, and respect within their communities. Birthright alone was not enough to secure leadership. Each Mingo worked alongside elected captains and sub-captains, who managed district affairs and provided additional layers of governance. Interestingly, war chiefs ranked below administrative leaders, emphasizing the Choctaws' prioritization of diplomacy and governance over conflict. The Mingos from each district convened regularly in a national council to address issues affecting the entire nation. These meetings adhered to strict protocols, often held only on sunny days. The Choctaw believed that the sun's presence symbolized truth and fairness, reflecting their spiritual connection to natural order. The clan system added another layer of organization. Choctaw society was divided into 2 major groups, or moieties, the Imaclashas elders and the Inholatas youth. These moieties were further split into 12 clans, each with specific responsibilities, such as medicine, diplomacy, or spiritual ceremonies. The clan system fostered interdependence, ensuring that knowledge and skills were preserved across generations. Marriage rules reinforced social cohesion. Individuals were required to marry outside their own clan, choosing partners from the opposite moiety. This system prevented close relatives from marrying, strengthened bonds between clans, and promoted unity within the community. Education in Choctaw society was a communal responsibility that extended beyond practical skills to encompass cultural values and philosophical concepts. Maternal uncles played a key role in raising children, particularly boys, teaching them hunting skills, tribal history, and social responsibilities. Fathers, while important figures, had limited authority over their children under the matrilineal system. Elders served as custodians of knowledge, sharing stories that preserved the tribe's history, ethics, and spiritual beliefs. These narratives were more than entertainment. They were vital tools for teaching the younger generation about their relationship with nature, social responsibilities, and the importance of community harmony. Adoption was fully integrated into the social structure, providing care for orphaned or displaced children while ensuring population stability. Adopted children gained full clan membership through their adoptive mother's line, reinforcing the matrilineal foundation. The Choctaws' housing designs were deeply rooted in their understanding of the southeastern environment. They crafted dwellings that balanced functionality with cultural and environmental awareness, resulting in 2 distinct housing types for seasonal living: summer homes and winter homes. Summer homes, or Choctaw, were open-air structures designed to combat the sweltering heat and high humidity of Mississippi's summers. These dwellings lacked walls, instead relying on a simple roof supported by sturdy wooden posts. This design maximized airflow, creating a cooling effect that was essential for comfort during hot days. The roofs were often made from natural materials like thatched river cane, which provided shade while allowing heat to escape. The placement of these homes was strategic, often elevated on gentle rises to avoid flooding and reduce insect problems. This elevation, combined with the open structure, ensured optimal ventilation and protection from the elements. The simplicity of Choctaw belied their ingenuity. These homes required minimal construction materials and maintenance, making them sustainable and efficient. They also served as communal gathering spaces during the warm months, reflecting the Choctaws' emphasis on community and adaptability. Winter homes contrasted sharply with summer homes, offering warmth and protection during colder months. These structures were partially buried in the ground, leveraging the Earth's natural insulating properties to retain heat. The walls were built from wooden posts, coated with a thick clay mixture, which provided additional insulation and sturdiness. The roofs, often crafted from overlapping palmetto leaves, were designed to be completely waterproof. This layering technique was not only effective, but also demonstrated the Choctaws' resourceful use of local materials. The slanted design of the roofs allowed rain to run off easily, ensuring durability during harsh weather. Inside, the semi-subterranean design created a cozy environment. Fire pits were centrally located for warmth and cooking, with a small opening in the roof to allow smoke to escape. The thick walls and compact design reduced heat loss, making these homes ideal for the southeastern winters. Both summer and winter homes reflected the Choctaws' deep respect for their environment. The designs minimized their ecological footprint while maximizing comfort and functionality. The seasonal transition between the homes also mirrored their adaptable lifestyle, allowing them to thrive despite the region's climate extremes. These housing designs were not merely practical, they were also expressions of Choctaw ingenuity and cultural identity. Each home was built with the community in mind, blending practicality, environmental awareness, and a profound connection to the land they called home. Agriculture formed the backbone of Choctaw society, providing not only sustenance, but also a foundation for economic and diplomatic power. The Choctaws' farming practices showcased their advanced understanding of environmental management and their ability to sustain a thriving economy. The Choctaws' agricultural practices were a testament to their ingenuity. The Three Sisters method was a hallmark of their farming system, demonstrating their understanding of symbiotic plant relationships. Corn provided a natural trellis for beans. Beans enriched the soil with nitrogen, and squash served as ground cover to prevent weeds and retain soil moisture. This sustainable approach ensured high yields without exhausting the land, reflecting their commitment to environmental stewardship. Crop rotation and soil management were also integral to their practices. By alternating the planting of crops and incorporating natural fertilizers, such as composted organic matter, the Choctaw maintained soil fertility for generations. These methods not only supported their subsistence needs, but also created an agricultural surplus that became a cornerstone of their economy. Corn was the cornerstone of the Choctaw diet, prepared in diverse ways to suit various needs. Women employed techniques such as nixtamalization, treating corn with ash to release essential nutrients, to maximize its nutritional value. This method prevented nutritional deficiencies like pellagra, which plagued communities that lacked similar knowledge. The Choctaw diet was not limited to cultivated crops. They supplemented their meals with wild game, fish, nuts, and berries, which were gathered from the surrounding environment. Meat was often smoked or dried for preservation, ensuring a steady protein source year-round. Agricultural surpluses enabled the Choctaw to establish extensive trade networks with neighboring tribes and, later, European settlers. Corn, beans, and other staple crops were highly sought after, while the Choctaws' craftsmanship in pottery and basketry added valuable trade goods to their economy. The Choctaws' reputation as skilled agriculturalists and traders made them influential players in regional diplomacy. Trade relationships often evolved into alliances, demonstrating the interconnected nature of their economic and political strategies. These interactions not only strengthened the Choctaws' economic power, but also reinforced their position as a respected and resourceful nation. As new opportunities and challenges arose, The Choctaw adapted their agricultural practices to incorporate livestock and new crops introduced by European settlers. They quickly mastered cattle farming, using surplus corn to feed their herds and further diversifying their economy. This adaptability ensured their continued prosperity even in the face of significant external pressures. The Choctaws' agricultural expertise was more than a means of survival. It was a reflection of their resilience, ingenuity, and ability to maintain harmony with their environment. Their practices not only sustained their communities, but also contributed to their lasting. Hunting was a cornerstone of Choctaw men's lives, requiring not only physical skill, but also deep knowledge of their environment. They mastered techniques such as deer stalking, a practice that demanded acute awareness of wind direction, animal behavior, and terrain. Hunters moved with precision and patience, often approaching game close enough for a clean and efficient kill. This level of expertise ensured the tribe had a steady supply of meat, hides, and other resources essential for survival. The tools used in hunting reflected the Choctaws' advanced craftsmanship. Their bows, made from locally sourced wood such as hickory, had a draw weight ranging from 35 to 70 pounds, enabling them to deliver powerful, accurate shots. These bows were strong enough to pierce European armor, highlighting their technological innovation and adaptability in toolmaking. Stickball, known as ishtaboli, was a defining aspect of Choctaw culture, transcending its role as a mere game. It functioned as a sophisticated method of conflict resolution, earning its nickname as the Little Brother of War. When disputes arose between communities or clans, stickball games replaced armed conflict, allowing disagreements to be resolved through skill and strategy rather than violence. This practice minimized bloodshed while preserving social harmony. The scale of stickball games was impressive, with matches often involving hundreds of players in fields that could stretch for miles. Each team employed elaborate strategies and physical prowess, as the game's rules demanded both individual skill and collective coordination. Matches were intense and highly competitive, but they also reinforced the interconnectedness of the participants and their broader communities. Beyond conflict resolution, stickball served as a training ground for young warriors. The physical demands of the game, endurance, agility, and precision, mirrored the skills required in battle. At the same time, the teamwork and discipline cultivated through stickball extended to other aspects of Choctaw life, emphasizing cooperation over individualism. Ceremonial elements surrounded the game, including rituals and celebrations, which underscored its spiritual and social significance. Through stickball, the Choctaw maintained order, built unity, and celebrated their cultural identity. Despite centuries of challenges, many aspects of traditional Choctaw society have endured. Modern Choctaw communities, such as the Mississippi Band of Choctaw Indians and the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma, continue to practice elements of their cultural heritage. Stickball remains a popular tradition, and agricultural methods like the Three Sisters farming system are celebrated as symbols of their ingenuity. The Choctaws' ability to adapt their traditions to contemporary life while preserving their core values is a testament to their resilience. This cultural continuity has allowed them to maintain a strong sense of identity, even in the face of significant historical disruptions. Choctaws' colonial struggles. The arrival of Europeans transformed Choctaw history forever. In 1905, 540 Hernando de Soto's expedition marked the first European contact, though their encounter would prove brief but violent. De Soto met Tuscaloosa, a powerful chief of Mambila town. Initial interactions centered on trade, but relations quickly soured when De Soto took Tuscaloosa hostage, demanding women, servants, and canoes. The Choctaw responded with calculated resistance, appearing to submit while secretly planning retaliation. On October 18, 1540, during what De Soto thought would be a peaceful feast, the Choctaw launched a surprise attack. The Battle of Mobila proved costly. Spanish forces lost supplies and men, while Choctaw warriors encountered Spanish cavalry for the first time, suffering heavy losses. Nearly 160 years passed before sustained European contact resumed. In 1699, French explorer d'Iberville established relations that would develop into the Choctaws' most significant early alliance. This partnership served crucial purposes for both sides. The Choctaw sought protection against slave raids from tribes allied with English colonists, particularly the Chickasaw. Before European arrival, native warfare involved taking captives who were either enslaved or adopted into families. The French alliance provided a buffer against these increasingly frequent raids. This alliance proved powerful. In 1907, 730, when French and Choctaw forces combined to defeat the Natchez tribe. The campaign devastated Natchez power, forcing survivors to flee their homeland and seek refuge with other tribes. This victory demonstrated the military effectiveness of the French-Choctaw partnership. The alliance faced its greatest test in the Chickasaw Wars. The Choctaw supported French efforts to stop Chickasaw trade with the English, leading to prolonged conflict. Though they couldn't defeat the Chickasaw completely, these wars shaped regional politics for decades. Internal tensions erupted in 1707, when different Choctaw districts clashed over trade policies. The nation divided into three factions: the pro-French Eastern District, the pro-English Western District, and the neutral Southern District. This civil war cost hundreds of lives before the pro-French faction emerged dominant. The Choctaw population, during this period, numbered around 12,000, making them a significant regional power. Their strategic location and military strength made them valuable allies for European powers, competing for control of the Southeast. Britain's victory in the Seven Years' War in 1907, 763, changed everything. France ceded its territory east of the Mississippi to Britain, forcing the Choctaw to adapt to new relationships. From 1763 to 1781, Britain became their primary European trading partner. The situation grew more complex when Spanish forces took control of New Orleans in 1907, 766, establishing authority over former French territory west of the Mississippi. Western Choctaw groups developed trade relationships with the Spanish, creating a delicate balance between European powers. The American Revolution presented new challenges and opportunities. The Choctaw demonstrated remarkable political adaptability, with different groups supporting various sides. Over 1,000 Choctaw fought for Britain against Spain, while others allied with Spanish forces. A significant number also supported the American cause. This strategic division wasn't chaos, it was calculated diplomacy. By maintaining connections with all sides, the Choctaw protected their interests regardless of the war's outcome. Their warriors earned respect for their military skills, while their leaders gained diplomatic experience. After the Revolution, George Washington initiated programs to integrate Southeastern Native Americans into European American culture. Many Choctaw had already begun this process, intermarrying with Europeans, converting to Christianity, and adopting new customs. These changes reflected Choctaw pragmatism rather than cultural surrender. They maintained their core identity while selectively adopting beneficial aspects of European culture. Some Choctaw became successful planters, others skilled traders, adapting to the new economic reality while preserving their traditions. The Choctaw recognized education's importance in this changing world. They established schools, learned English, and studied American legal systems, preparing their next generation to navigate relationships with the growing United States. Their diplomatic skill showed in maintaining beneficial relationships with multiple powers simultaneously. The Choctaw became known as sophisticated negotiators, often securing better terms than other tribes in their dealings with Europeans and Americans. Throughout these changes, they maintained their traditional governance structure. The three-district system adapted to new challenges while preserving essential cultural elements. This stability helped them manage complex external relationships effectively. These early alliances and adaptations would prove crucial as the Choctaw faced their greatest challenges ahead. Their experiences with European powers and early Americans shaped their response to the dramatic changes that followed in the treaty period. The Choctaw emerged from this early contact period with valuable experience in diplomacy and adaptation. These skills would soon be tested as pressure for their lands increased, and the United States government began implementing policies that would threaten their very existence. The treaty period marked one of the most critical chapters in Choctaw history. Beginning in 1901, 801, a series of treaties gradually reduced Choctaw territory, fundamentally altering their relationship with the growing United States. The process began with the 1801 Treaty of Fort Adams. This first major land cession established the Natchez Trace through Choctaw territory. While seemingly minor, it opened a crucial route for American settlers and traders, setting a precedent for future demands. The American strategy was calculated. They established trading posts that offered goods on credit to the Choctaw. When debts accumulated, they proposed land cessions as payment. This debt for land scheme became a common pattern in early treaties. The 1805 Mount Dexter Treaty marked another significant loss of land. American negotiators promised this would be their final request for territory. However, this promise, like many others, would soon be broken as settler pressure for land increased. Andrew Jackson first encountered the Choctaw during the Creek War of 1813–1814. Initially, he valued them as allies. Pushmataw, a respected Choctaw chief, received a brigadier general's commission in Jackson's army. His warriors played crucial roles in several victories. The Choctaw-American military alliance proved highly effective. Choctaw warriors helped secure Jackson's victory at the Battle of New Orleans in 1908–1801. Their skill at guerrilla warfare and knowledge of the terrain proved invaluable. This period represented the high point of Choctaw-American cooperation. However, by 1816, the relationship began to change. Despite previous promises to stop requesting land, American negotiators demanded more territory. The Choctaw, hoping to maintain their alliance with the United States, reluctantly agreed to another cession. The 1820 Treaty of Doak's Stand marked a turning point. Jackson, now representing the government, pressured the Choctaw to cede a massive portion of their remaining homeland. In exchange, they received land in present-day Oklahoma, land that would later be taken back. The 1825 treaty highlighted the precarious nature of these agreements. The Oklahoma lands promised in 1601, 820 turned out to already have American settlers. Rather than remove the settlers, the government asked the Choctaw to give up this territory too. During this period, Choctaw leaders developed sophisticated negotiating strategies. They learned English, studied American law, and became skilled diplomats. Some chiefs were educated in American schools, giving them insight into U.S. politics and culture. The Choctaw Nation adapted rapidly to changing circumstances. They established schools, welcomed Christian missionaries, and adopted American agricultural techniques. These adaptations weren't submission. They were strategic choices to strengthen their position. Everything changed when Andrew Jackson became president in 1677. Despite his former alliance with the Choctaw, he now advocated for their complete removal. The Indian Removal Act of 1830 gave him the legal framework to force the issue. The Treaty of Dancing Rabbit Creek in 830 became the final, devastating agreement. Jackson's negotiators used a combination of threats and false promises. They warned that if the Choctaw refused to sign, the U.S. military would force them out anyway. When Choctaw chiefs initially refused to negotiate, Jackson's representatives made their threats explicit: either sign the treaty or face military invasion, with women and children facing enslavement or death. The choice was between a managed removal or violent expulsion. The treaty offered two options: move west to Indian Territory, now Oklahoma, or remain in Mississippi as American citizens. Those who stayed would receive land allotments, but the process was designed to fail through bureaucratic obstacles. The treaty terms seemed generous on paper. Each Choctaw family choosing to stay could claim 640 acres of land. However, the government agent responsible for recording these claims, William Ward, actively worked to prevent Choctaw from registering. Ward employed various tactics to deny Choctaw claims, destroying paperwork, removing names from lists, and encouraging removal agents to pressure people to leave. His actions ensured that few Choctaw could successfully claim their promised land. The treaty's impact reached beyond land loss. It disrupted the Choctaws' carefully structured society, separated families, and threatened their cultural continuity. Communities that had existed for generations faced forced dissolution. Some Choctaw leaders attempted legal challenges to the treaty. Others sought to delay implementation. However, Jackson's administration pressed forward, setting strict deadlines for removal. The first groups would be forced to march west by 1831. As removal became inevitable, the Choctaw faced difficult choices. Families had to decide whether to risk the journey west or attempt to remain in Mississippi under American law. Either choice meant significant hardship and uncertain futures. The treaty period fundamentally altered the Choctaw Nation. Through a series of increasingly coercive agreements, they lost most of their ancestral homeland. However, their responses to these challenges demonstrated remarkable resilience and adaptability. These treaties set the stage for the tragic events that followed. The forced removal known as the Trail of Tears. The Choctaw would face their greatest challenge yet. Choctaw through time. 1830 marked the beginning of the darkest chapter in Choctaw history. The Treaty of Dancing Rabbit Creek, forced upon the nation under threat of military action, would transform the lives of 20,000 Choctaw people forever. The treaty emerged from Andrew Jackson's Indian Removal Act, passed despite fierce opposition from many Americans. Jackson, once a military ally of the Choctaw, now saw them as obstacles to American expansion. His solution was simple but devastating: forced removal of all Native Americans east of the Mississippi. The negotiations were anything but fair. U.S. Commissioners John Eaton and John Coffee delivered an ultimatum to Choctaw leaders: sign the treaty or face military invasion. The threat was explicit. Refusal would mean the potential enslavement of women and children, and death for those who resisted. Initially, Choctaw chiefs united in opposition, but faced with impossible choices, they eventually signed. The treaty offered two options: relocate to Indian Territory, in present-day Oklahoma, or remain in Mississippi as American citizens. Both choices carried heavy costs. Those choosing to stay in Mississippi were promised 640 acres per family. However, William Ward, the federal agent responsible for registering these claims, systematically undermined the process. He destroyed applications, removed names from lists, and encouraged removal agents to pressure Choctaws into leaving. The removal process began in 1904, 831. Of approximately 20,000 Choctaws, 15,000 were slated for removal. They had to leave their homes, farms, and sacred sites, including Naniwaya Mound, their place of origin. Many could take only what they could carry. The first group departed in November 1831. Tragically, they faced one of the worst winters in recorded history. The Mississippi River froze over. Blizzards swept across Arkansas. The government's inadequate preparation turned a difficult journey into a humanitarian disaster. The conditions were horrific. Government contractors, trying to save money, provided insufficient food, blankets, and medical supplies. People walked through snow and ice, many without shoes. Disease spread rapidly through the crowded camps. Cholera and exposure claimed countless lives. River crossings proved especially deadly. The frozen Mississippi forced groups to wait for days in makeshift camps. When they could cross, the ice-choked water claimed more lives. Some families lost multiple members at these crossings. The most vulnerable suffered most. The elderly and young children died in shocking numbers. Medical care was almost non-sufficient. Traditional healers did what they could, but without access to familiar medicinal plants and faced with new diseases, many of their remedies proved ineffective. The journey shattered families. Some members died en route. Others became too sick to continue and were left behind. Some families split up, with some staying in Mississippi while others left. These separations created wounds that would last for generations. The numbers tell a devastating story. Of the 15,000 who began the journey, only 12,000 survived to reach Indian Territory. The Choctaw lost 20% of their population during the removal. One French observer called it a trail of tears and death. Those who remained in Mississippi faced their own struggles. Despite treaty promises, few received their promised land. Many retreated into swamps and forests, living as refugees in their ancestral homeland. They faced discrimination, poverty, and constant pressure to leave. The Mississippi Choctaw survived through determination and adaptation. They maintained tight-knit communities, preserved their language and customs in secret, and supported each other through decades of hardship. By 1,900, only 1,253 Choctaw remained in Mississippi. Those who reached Indian Territory faced new challenges. The Promised Land wasn't empty. Other tribes had claims to portions of it. Infrastructure was non-existent. They had to build new homes, clear fields, and establish new communities, while still grieving their losses. Yet even in these dire circumstances, the Choctaw demonstrated remarkable resilience. They began rebuilding almost immediately. They established new governmental structures, reopened schools, and worked to maintain their cultural practices in their new home. The trauma of removal strengthened their determination to preserve their identity. Elders worked harder than ever to pass down stories, language, and traditions. This cultural preservation became a form of resistance against forces trying to erase their identity. Despite their losses, the Choctaw prioritized education. They established schools in their new territory, teaching both traditional knowledge and modern subjects. This commitment to education would prove crucial for their future survival. The removal forced changes in Choctaw leadership structures. The three-district system adapted to new territories. Leaders had to balance maintaining traditional governance with new challenges and relationships with the U.S. government. Religious and spiritual practices helped many cope with trauma. Traditional ceremonies continued, though sometimes modified for new circumstances. Some Choctaw incorporated Christian elements into their spiritual practice, creating unique synthetic forms of worship. The economic impact of removal was severe. Successful farmers and traders had to start over. Traditional trading networks were disrupted. Many families lost all their material wealth during the journey. However, they began rebuilding their economy through agriculture, trade, and new enterprises. The Trail of Tears left deep scars in Choctaw consciousness. Stories of the removal passed down through generations, becoming a defining moment in their history. However, they refused to let tragedy define them. Their survival and rebuilding efforts demonstrated extraordinary strength. Today, both Oklahoma and Mississippi Choctaw commemorate the Trail of Tears. Annual gatherings, ceremonies, and educational programs ensure new generations understand this history. The removal sites are marked and preserved as sacred spaces of remembrance. Modern Choctaw communities work to heal historical trauma while celebrating survival. Cultural revitalization programs, language preservation efforts, and community building initiatives help strengthen connections between past and present. The Trail of Tears transformed the Choctaw Nation, yet it also revealed their incredible resilience. They maintained their identity, rebuilt their communities, and emerged as one of the largest and most successful Native American nations today. From this darkest chapter, the Choctaw would begin rebuilding. Their next challenge would be establishing themselves in their new territory, while maintaining connections with those left behind. The story of this renewal marks the beginning of the modern Choctaw Nation. Despite the trauma of removal, the Choctaw people demonstrated remarkable resilience. Within 30 years of reaching Indian territory, they built the largest economic power in the region. Their successful cotton plantations and lumber operations transformed the territory's economy, establishing a foundation for future growth. The Civil War brought new challenges. The Choctaw Nation primarily allied with the Confederacy, remembering the betrayal of the federal government. This decision, while understandable, led to significant consequences after the Union victory, including the 1866 treaty that forced them to cede more land. Yet even this setback couldn't halt their progress. The post-war period saw remarkable developments in education. The Choctaw established a comprehensive education system, building schools throughout their territory. Though these institutions later became tools of assimilation under federal control, they initially served as centers for preserving Choctaw language and culture. Today, the Choctaw Nation stands as the third largest Native American tribe in the United States, with over 200,000 members. Their government manages a diverse portfolio of businesses and services, generating billions in revenue that supports healthcare, education, and cultural programs. Their success extends beyond economics. They've created a model of indigenous governance that balances traditional values with modern development. Modern Choctaw leaders have made cultural preservation a priority. Language revitalization programs operate alongside traditional arts classes. Annual stickball tournaments draw participants from across the nation, while cultural centers and museums preserve and share Choctaw heritage. Youth education programs ensure these traditions pass to future generations. The nation continues addressing complex challenges. They work to heal historical trauma while preserving their language and culture. Economic development proceeds alongside environmental protection efforts. Healthcare access has improved dramatically, though rural areas still face challenges. Through it all, the Choctaw maintain their commitment to community and cultural identity. The Choctaw Nation looks ahead with a 100-year vision, focusing on sustainable development while maintaining their unique identity. Their journey from forced removal to cultural renaissance demonstrates the power of resilience and adaptation. They've not just survived, they've thrived while staying true to their core values. If you've enjoyed learning about the remarkable journey of the Choctaw people, please subscribe to our channel for more stories of Native American history and resilience. Yakoke, thank you for watching.